Okay, so we've got Aquarius, we've got Gemini, we've got Libra. What I did was get into the aspects. But in terms of the first page of hold steady, go first, team up, right? In terms of 7, transforming, 3, collaborating and manifesting, yes, and 11, which converts to 2, which is deciding and possibly partnering or being alone, right? Or basically balancing both. And so who and what you should be bound to, who and what you shouldn't be bound to, who and what you're currently bound to, who and what you've been bound to in the past. I think I dig deep and I've solved several things for myself here. In terms of understanding how to use this information to put my life where I want it, right? Or where I'm supposed to put it, to do with this process, what I'm supposed to do with it. Who and what you should be bound to. I put everything good and bad inside God's will. Not that he wills bad things, but what I need to do that's rough, yes, unpleasant, inside God's will. What God needs me to know, understand, affect, effect, battle, and rage against, love and hate, work with, yes? That's what I need to be bound to, above anything else. Who and what I shouldn't be bound to. Anything, good or bad, outside of God's will. At times I have to see, and that's where I differ from when anybody else tells me that it's up to me to decide and I've got free will. It's like, well, yeah, I have free will insofar as I know I have to be responsible for myself. But I also come from there are things about my my Jesus past, let's say my Jesus past, 26 years, and multiple denominations. There are things about it that I still hang on to. And one of them is the point that he made, well, John made it. And it's like, and it's completely in sync if we would just pay attention to what we're actually trying to accomplish here. We don't have to keep beating ourselves up. Once you're inside the will of your chart, God's will, either in your chart, right? But who created your chart? So does God need to hack your chart? Yes. But whatever it is, once you're in that flow, if you're going to do something outside of that flow, then that's sin. And if you do something, you want to stay in that flow, right? Because that's the flow. Somebody else knows what needs to be done. You don't know what needs to be done all the time. Sometimes you do. But the reason... But God knows and the guides know. Yes, they're all on board. They're on the same team. And the coach knows what needs to be played. Yeah? If I go off and do my own play, or if I feel like I need, there are times of wondering. Yes. And that's when you go slower. That's when you stop and you're paying closer attention. Yes? Because I don't need to be beating myself up. I went through this years ago during my first lawsuit, where I was like, no, I'm not interested in beating myself up anymore. I get to learn through mistakes. Mistakes are just about learning. They're not even really mistakes. And forget this, sin and repent and sin and repent and be cleared and try again. No. We're on this together. Want my intention set with your intention. And I'm allowed to get messy with this because this isn't a fair situation for anybody on earth. Who and what you shouldn't be bound to, right? Who and what currently bound to. So I'm bound to 2 worlds. Who I've had to be and who I'm free to be and who I'm becoming. But that's part of those 2 worlds. And so I'm bound to God and spirits and fairies and guides. Yes, people. I'm bound to bridging what I've been bound to in the past. Who and what I've been bound to in the past. Very controlling people and circumstances. Terrifying. Not as terrifying as some others, obviously, or traumatic, but still deeply. Things I had to do, but then, of course, my baby Alex came 22 years ago, and it's just about his birthday. And that was very, very... The bindings had to happen. if I was going to get where I was going to go. But I don't believe in learning by suffering. But then, of course, I'm one of the ones that doesn't believe that this is a benevolent universe. Kinds of knowledge and skills you have. I pushed myself here of what I actually have found out about myself, things I need, how able I am to keep myself safe. Again, I rely spiritually on that tremendously, completely, as well as my own, skills. But again, they know what dangers are coming before I know. How wise am I to corruptions and legalities? Absolutely. So how realistic about project management? And this is where I find getting real about what to do for myself financially, right? Comes through. How we best work alone and with others. Talents you have, didn't know you have. How you adapt to necessary project changes. It's not just project, but it's actually work habits. So always allow for things to take longer and go slower. I prefer to combine friendship with business. Friendships with purpose. I like mixing the two. If I could work 2/3 of my time alone, but I can manage with half of my work time being alone, and therefore I know, well, what work environments do I need to pursue actively, right? With confidence. Talents I have that I didn't know I have. I have deep fire because I have Scorpio fire. Scorpio's water, but it's got the magma. Yeah, it's connected to the magma. At the center of the earth. And working with others, I forgot. Working with others. Now, what's interesting, I came up with this 2/3 thing that came into my head. As a consultant mentor, how do I help people? Here's the problem I identified. How do I help people plug or fit and see how to fit my information into their work, which means my information has to be relevant and helpful to their work. That's the onus on me, but also how I communicate it to them in a way that they get it and can use it, right? And that for me is the heart of it. Marketing problem, yeah? And then talents I have. So I'm doing the work here of basically being critical of myself, yes? In order to find how to help myself. Deep fire, getting links to evidence through dreams. Didn't know that was such a huge thing. Now I do. Rapid learning and applying, innovating. Very rapid. To the point where it's overwhelming at times. So I have to learn how to balance that. Being in the right place at the right time. Now, how I adapt to necessary changes, usually quickly, once I know what they are. But I can take a long time, too long, to realize what changes need to be made. Ironically, only for me. I can see ahead for others, no problem, right? So, hopefully you could hear me saying all of those things. I know I was a little bit away from the camera. But, so, yeah. What do we do with that? Then I went into negotiations, interests, and goals, how to work the aspects and the seasons and the planets to my advantage, and advantage for what, right? I got into numerology with this. I used the numerology for, because I've got my moon, Venus, Jupiter, and Lilith in my 7th. And so what I did was, I wrote a little paragraph. First I listed them, and then I learned the most about myself in this house. What I expected to learn from my first house. People reflect me back to me, and the fairy world, the spirit world, right? That's where I went. So Venus is in my chart. It's in Taurus. So that's 2nd house, but it's in my 7th in whole house, and it's in my 6th house in Ezra Regiomontanus. So I did the numerology of that. So 2 + 7 + 6 equals 15, which breaks down to 6, which equals love, right? And then it's also 2nd is Taurus, 7th is Libra, 6th is Virgo, right? Well, that's a lot if we go back to that star, the prophetess star in Virgo, right? And we've got the Virgin. Look at all that feminine, the double Venus and then the Virgin. So the buck stops there is what I said, because you don't get past go with these guys altogether. And that's where I bring in, should the star Urania really be Virgo's card and the Hermit be Aquarius's card. Jupiter in Gemini, in my 8th house in whole house, and my 7th house in Regio Montanus Ebenezer. So again, the numerology. So 3 plus 8 plus 9. 3 plus 8 plus 7 equals 18 equals 9 equals push, like persevere, right? Proving yourself to everybody. So I've got love and push. And I've got it, because I've got it in Gemini, Scorpius, and Libra, ethics. Absolutely. And Gemini is Mercury, Scorpius is Mars and Pluto, and Libra is Venus. So mind, loves and loyalties, powers and negotiating skills, right? All to do with ethics. Lilith, same as Jupiter, right? And same houses and signs. So again, another 9. Push, persevere, and love, right? So then I added them all together. But I also noticed that because I've got 2 9s and a 6, right? And then if you get the digital sum of 9 and 9 plus 6, that equals 6. So I've got 2 9s and 2 6s, right? So I've got balance there. But then we also know 9th house is Sagittarius. So I've got 2 Sagittarius and a Virgo, because 6th house is Virgo. Now you could say that I'm getting a little out of hand with all of this numerology, but there is no out of hand with numerology. Because let's see if I have battery left. But so wherever it cut out on me when I was saying, I've got 2 9s and 2 6s from the digital sums, because of what the 2 9s and the 6 add up to, which is another 6. So I've got the balance there. So, and then 9 is Sagittarius. So if it cut out when I was saying that you can't go too far with numerology, because numerology is already hyper managed, it's already insane. So you can't take it too far. Sagittarius being 9th house and 6th house being Virgo, right? So I've got double temperance and double hermit. Or if we go by card numbers, then I've got double hermit and double lovers. So then I take all of that. Both of my houses here have planet placements. And Jupiter is probably in the only possible position of being at all tamed, with Venus in Taurus in 6th and 7th on one side. Venus is on one side of my Jupiter, and Lilith is on the other side in Gemini in 7th and 8th. So the strength card, literally, with two women flanking Jupiter. But Jupiter is so huge and does so much energetically to a house that it would take 2 of them to pin him down. So I follow God's will even into poverty, in which case God's will is my only possible advantage. And I do think that's true. You can't win outside of God's will. Not the way you want to win if you care about God. So if God needs you to get poor for a while because you got to go after what he wants, he and she wants you to go after, then that's what you got to do. What's the advantage? Well, you're in good standing with God. So I do the same thing for 3rd and 11th. And it's really amazing the results I get with that, because I've got the emphasis on love and push. So what do I know my behaviors are in 7th house? Pushing, love. It happens in the fall, right? So push and love in the fall. That's the energy I want to focus on in the fall months. Of course, in the 3rd house, that for me is spring. Now, if you're in the southern hemisphere, then it applies more to the time of year than because of the constellation, not so much, not the weather and the climate, right? Whole house system is empty in 3rd. So on top of doing the numerology for the same, I've got my moon and my south node and my Mercury in my 3rd house, right? So I do the same thing for them as I did for that. And I do that, I've got my north node and Pluto in my 11th, okay? So I do the same thing. Here I have another 9 and a 2 and a 2. Now what gets me about that is I've got 9 and 2 and 2. Now I've got a 2/3 situation, and this is the third house, the mind. And this takes me right back to where I said that I preferred to work 2/3 of my time by myself. I'm like, the inversion in life. So I'm like 2/3, right? 2 2s and 1 9. But you add them together and the sum is 4, is stability. I'm like, right. Now 9, Sagittarius again, 2 is Taurus, double Taurus, right? And then a Cancer is 4. So that gives me Temperance again, and the Hierophant times 2. So maybe 2 teaching positions, and the Chariot, right? Progress. So patience, being the student and the teacher, and then movement. Or I've got Hermit, according to card numbers, High Priestess times 2, which is similar enough to Hierophant times 2, and the Emperor, right? Getting things done. If you can follow me through all this. But this is affirming my preference to work alone 2/3 of my time. Whole house being primary. Now I question that as soon as once I get to 11th house, because this is why 2 house systems. So this is why I was stuck all those childhood years and in my teens. Had almost none of my interests. Definitely not the main ones. It was up to me to invert the ratio. Was stuck losing my time in routines set against my ratio of 2/3. So I was losing even more than 2/3 of my time to other systems that were working against me. So then I get into 11th, and this is where it really gets exciting. I found in third house, I got all the answers in this house to why my childhood went the way it went, because I've got Twin Peaks happen to me. So events that happen to you while you're studying this house count in the house. Yes, understanding it. And then in 11th, I found all the interests that make me happy. I already knew them, but now I know that now I know why them. Electromagnetism, electronic sound, all the things I've been able and unable to pursue, right? The Ezra Regio house system is empty in 11. So then I did the numerology for the empty house. So it's got Scorpio and Libra. And then I've got a 1 and 11 and a 12. Like once you see 1 and 11 together, right? 14. And this is where it gets really interesting. It's empty, but there are a lot of layers. There's because it's in the split. It's split between, the 11th house splits between Libra and Scorpio, right? So I've got 2 numbers there. 8 and 6 plus the first house plus the 11th house plus the 12th house. It spans all of those, right? So that gives me 5 numbers. So I make note of like, well, that's a lot of numbers. 5. There are 5 Venus cycles of 8 years. Venus cycle, complete cycle, takes 5 cycles of years because it traces a 5-petal rose. Da-da! My blue rose journey. I turned 40 in 2018. 2 to 3 months, just 2 to 3 months before the blue rose found me in my client's home. Before my blue rose journey started when I turned 40. And it all came through to me in the 11th house while studying the 11th house. I'm 43 right now. This is where my North Node is, okay? North Node matures at age 43. I am 43. Almost exactly 3 years, within a month and a half, 3 years from the time I found that blue rose. Which all ties to the murder victims that I help, okay? So, that's in Regio Montanus, Ibn Ezra house system. So I can't say that I was feeling like whole house system is the primary house system. But this totally balances, says no, it's just as important to go with the uneven house system. So what are the odds of my obedience to God's will? Yes? And my head is literally burning up. But the last thing I'll get into, I'm going to just take a break for a second here, because I don't even know if I have battery left or camera card space. But in terms of modifying houses and looking what the houses need, the embassy compound and the penthouse, looking after, because I've got, 6 second house through Taurus, Gemini. This is where my embassy, my 7th house is placed, right? Taurus and Gemini. And then Cancer. Yeah? Yes. So Taurus is the round house, the round tent. Gemini is the penthouse. And Cancer is the houseboat. So how do I combine all of those with the embassy for a habitat? My penthouse has 5 unusual, like 5 combinations. The embassy and the travel hostel only have 4. So it's unique in that I noticed that first was that I have Capricorn. Yeah, so I have the exotic outpost, I have Aquarius with the hostel, I have Pisces with the cruise ship, and I have Space Station Aries, plus of course the penthouse in Gemini. How do I work all of those together? Now, it's the only place fire shows up in any of my houses. Because down here in the travel hostel, I have Virgo with the lighthouse. I have the embassy compound of Libra. I have the submarine of Scorpius. And then, of course, the Aquarius hostel. It's like, there's no fire in these 2. So how would I keep them heated? Pops into my head. Okay? That pops into my head. I'm like, well, okay, so what would be a good way to add fire? And so, true to problem solving, not only because we're in Virgo energy, but also because air. Yeah. I looked up what did I look up? What I typed in was easiest buildings to heat. Yeah? So that I can adapt it. Figure out how to adapt to all these different kinds of habitats. And this is where I got Passipedia.org. What is a passive house? Boom. Okay, this is so exciting. So if you go to Passipedia, it is basically a Wikipedia, obviously, for passive house. Okay? And it's how to reduce cost by 90% because it's going to use the heat that you generate through your body, through your appliances, minus the air conditioner, minus the furnace and everything. And then solar energy, yes? And there's just all of this. I took multiple screenshots of one thing, but concept 3, heating using a condensing boiler. But the idea is that they do an air exchange. And this is started in 1991. I got to give the guy credit. Here's a system diagram. Okay, went through all of this. An Austrian came up with this, okay? So there's that. So I was like, well, okay. Now, how to combine. Here's my answer for Gemini. For the penthouse. Converted. I remember watching Build a New Life in the... Okay, Build a New Life in the Country, a UK program. A guy had converted a water tower, a Victorian water tower. This could actually... no, it wasn't in as big a clearing as that. But it's similar to that, yeah? And I was like, okay, that should satisfy most of my... Now, I have to figure out how to satisfy the water. Passive house needs a strong earth base to be to gain heat from the ground. And you're not going to get that from water, right? But if there's a way to... And I did a search and I can't find yet, right? Water specific. But... went back to their site. Definitely no problem doing a compound. They do schools. So the idea would be now how to make Aries first house happy with fire energy. But look how open these things can be. Yeah. They're definitely got Taurus taken care of with the round tent energy of the flow. This almost makes my water energy happy. This is in Spain. Excellent Azure magazine. This is in France. So this is the other side of that. And this one's in Spain. And that azuremagazine.com. This is the habitats for like the passive houses. Yes. So I'll just take you through, and this one's in France. There's some of the inside. So this is my idea of how to use heat that's already, that has nothing to do, that's back to, there we are there. But yes, back to passive house. This is how it works. And it's exchanging, right? It's using, so the thing is, yes, to how to make water energy happy in a home that can't be on water. Not that water energy has to be happy only on water. Not that my houseboat and my submarine and my cruise ship for Cancer and Scorpio and Pisces, you know, I live on land. I don't live in a houseboat yet. Ooh, I just said yet. Okay, meant to be. But how to use our own heat that we're using anyway effectively. This is a huge phenomenon. You may have come across it already. But in terms of adapting, creating combined habitats. So let me get back to those pages for a minute, because I think there was some more gold on them. Get these out of the way. And of course this ties in again then with my green lady energy of home. So the notion of, well, no, but every sign gonna take us into the house journey, isn't it? So it's not unique to the air stories, but with the embassy, here's how I break things down. Because I have it in Taurus, my 7th house in Taurus and Gemini. Taurus with the round tent, that's only going to accommodate some people. Now, it has flow, so there can be lots of people around. It's usually in a communal setting, right? But it's geared towards a family, I believe, right? Even a large family. But let's just say, so I say, okay, so I need something that will accommodate some people. It's not about a lot of people. It's about some people, right? The penthouse. I think of the penthouse as a gathering place, as a party place, right? But it would go between 1 or 2 people and a lot of people, right? So what kind of environment, what kind of combined home do you need? So some people, we need multiple spaces here, because then we have the houseboat. Again, houseboat's similar to the round tent, where it's family oriented or it's individual oriented. So there's only going to be a few people accommodated by it, right? And then of course, the embassy itself would need to accommodate many people, right? The compound. It's a compound, for crying out loud. So I take that into consideration, and what the different needs are for each of those situations. And then I also look at the energy of what I need to be doing with my placements, because the embassy, while it holds steady energy, right? Where does it show up for me in the chart? It shows up for me in the cardinal season of Taurus, and what's in my 7th is mutable. So what are the things I need to be doing while I'm in my 7th? So is this where I create alone? Is that where I create alone? Because in hold steady, but if we go back somewhere in here, right? My mind is fried. I actually just fell asleep last night. That's why I didn't keep recording last night. But, see if I can find it anytime soon. I don't think I can. And I don't think, no. I didn't, I forgot to anticipate that. Hang on a second. Yeah, back on the birth chart work pages, in week 3 of each house. Yeah, that's where you look at the placement of where your house is, where your 7th is in your chart, and it's all during cardinal energy for me. So I'm combining the hold steady, the fixed hold steady, with the cardinal season. And so hold steady is very much alone time, and cardinal is starting time. So then I start things alone. That's what I'm, and so I need the energy of that. I need this habitat to serve working alone, but also initiating, like, so there might be, when you're cardinal, you're still going to communicate with others. So, so that's what I'm combining to get a sense of what my embassy is like for the penthouse, because my 3rd house, primary lands between immutable energy, right? So that's, the penthouse is cardinal, yes, go first, yeah, but it's during mutable season. Capricornus, Aquarius, and of course we know I change earth and air to match 9, 10, 11, 12 houses, which are mutable energies. So combine the cardinal of Gemini with the mutable of the season where my 3rd house falls, in both whole house and Ibn Ezra. So then initiate collaborations. I'm combining those 2 functions, yes? So I'm going to need a penthouse that serves that energy, those activities. And then for the hostel, which would be mutable, yes, in Aquarius. And for me, it lands right now during fixed. So during the hold steady. Does it? Yes. Yep. See, it's team up energy, but it's falling during hold steady. So hold on to people. Is that what I do? Is that what I do? I hang on to people I already have and then build with them. And then what habitat, how do I modify the hostel, which has the lighthouse, the embassy, and the submarine in with it, right? And what do I do in the submarine, and how do, it's a lot of finding out information. It's a lot of negotiating with people in the embassy, keeping perspective with the lighthouse, and then and being a beacon, yes, like guiding people this way, this way. Oh, look at all my candles are gone out. Oh, it says it all, doesn't it? Okay, but let's just switch them out then. Oh no, don't break the Egyptian perfume jar. Hit the bump or something. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. Okay. There we are. So that's it for those, and then let's just take a quick look ahead since we're here. I've got Virgo's house all set, lighthouse. Okay, so we're heading towards the lighthouse, and here we are. It's the 27th. Is it really? No, it's not. It's 4th. Oh my god. Be nice if it were the 27th. Holy shit. Okay, so let's switch this out. Okay, Lighthouse Virgo. How do we get How do we get from the 8-star hostel to the lighthouse? And what does that feel like to go from the hostel where, you know, and the thing I like is that there's some good preparation here, because the hostel, everybody's gonna do, there's a mix of having things provided, but you also do for yourself, yes, and you have to clean up after yourself, and you have to make sure that you, however comfortable you made yourself, that you go and you find everything, and because there's that much more interaction with people. Now, did you stay in a dorm room? Did you stay in a semi-private? Did you stay in a private? You know, what kind of hostel did you have? What kind of experience would you prefer in a hostel? And of course, you're not staying in the hostel. It's your hostel. So you're the host. Yes, you're the owner running it, right? That's that experience. So to move from that into a lighthouse, to go from being responsible for lots of people and having it change all the time, to also being responsible for lots of people, but indirectly, because you're going to be at a distance from people. You're going to do something in the lighthouse that affects everybody. It's for everybody else, right? But basically there's a separation between what you're doing for everybody and how you live your life. The people that you're immediately in contact with. People might come and visit you, yes, but you maintain your unique position. And I'm not going to tell a whole bunch of lighthouse people how they live life. They're going to tell me. But in terms of the effect, right? The beacon of the lighthouse versus the actual destination of the hostel. So lots of people. Very interesting. Okay. So to transition from that to that, it could be there could be a bit of a sinking situation mood-wise, to go from feeding off of people's energy, but also exhausted possibly by people's energy. But if you're going to be looking after hostel, then you primarily feed off of energy, or you wouldn't be doing it. To this, where you actually put out energy and conserve energy. Okay. So that's what we're transitioning one from the other. I wanted to meditate on that for a moment there, verbally. And so we have the new moon in Libra in a couple of days. Venus is not direct in Scorpius yet. We know that. Just about, but it's going to be sometime this week. So we need to watch for that. Now Pluto, direct in Capricornus. And I'll only know that through Sky Safari. I'll check into that when I'm back. I'll be back Wednesday, Thursday, Friday with this week's video. And quiet there. Then we've got Sun entering Libra. We'll see when. Mercury going direct. Full moon in Aries. What will that be like? And Mars direct in Libra. So this looks like maybe a quiet month. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Not for work, that's for sure. But anyway, okay. What is it, 2 hours for this video? But it was 2 weeks together. So, okay. Much love. I'm going to do a reading now.